All right, my friends, we've finished up this image list application. Now, I know it seems a bit, I don't know, ugly, but I'm leaving the styling part of the application to you, and you can improve it as you see fit. Go to town. I'm serious. We're going to learn a lot of stuff about React in the next sections, though, so I want you to feel good about what you got. So now, of course, it took a fair amount of time, but I think you'll agree with me that we learned a heck of a lot about React in this application, right? So before we move on, I do want to do a quick overview of some of the really big things that we covered in this app. So we're going to first start off with these search input components. We learned more about event handlers. Now, remember the event handler, this one in particular, inside the input tag and form tag, we had passed in a callback function. And then whenever that tag emits that event, the callback function will be called. And of course, one issue that we ran into when this callback function was called, the value of this inside of them. But you also saw the errors we ran into inside the app component. And this is, of course, an issue that you're going to run into just about, well, with every React project that you work on. And remember, the rule to keep in mind is anytime that you have a callback function, just to be safe, you can use this arrow syntax like this. That's going to automatically bind this function and make sure that it always has the appropriate value of this inside of this function. Oh yeah, so the next thing that we covered with our search input component was with the prop system. We only communicate from a parent down to a child. And that eventually ends up being an issue because we wanted to communicate the search entry from the search input up to the parent component of the app component in this case. So in order to communicate from a child to a parent, we pass a callback from the parent to the child, and then the child will call that callback identical system to what we're doing with these event handlers down here. Okay. And then the next issue that we ran into was inside of our imagelist.js file. We learned a little bit more about how to render a list of images. So the key thing to keep in mind here is the map function from JavaScript. Every time that you want to render a list, you're probably going to be reaching for that map function. And then after we rendered our list, we saw a little warning. We fixed it by defining a key on the root element that we are rendering into that list. So we should use a key that has a value that is consistent and unchanging for each record between renders. And so if you're ever working with data that has an ID property, then you're always going to use the ID of each record as the key property. Wow, that was a lot. So I hope you enjoyed learning this application and building it. So right now we'll have a little bit of a break and we'll continue in the next section because we got some exciting stuff in store.